Okay, wow. Thank you. Thank you very much. Nice to be here. First of all, I want to acknowledge these two numbers on my shirt. The first one, which has been talked about a lot tonight, is the 350 days that Israelis still remain in Gaza. We can't forget that. While we're here cheering and hoping for this to shift, we always have to remember that they are there in the dark, alone, and hoping that something will change in their circumstances. The other number is 21. I put this number on my shirt because Rachel Goldberg-Pollen and her bravery inspired me. So much so, I met her on the 31st day after October 7th. And for 300 days after that, she woke up every single morning, and I think she gave us all hope. She became the mother of Israel in so many ways. And the news of Hirsch being murdered by Hamas affected me in such a way that I said, I'm going to spend the next 331 days waking up every single morning, praying for her, praying for the family of the hostages, and reminding the world of the reality that we face. My name is Nathaniel Buzolic. I'm a Hollywood actor, I'm a Christian, and according to my friends who I grew up with, I'm the least likely person to be standing here in front of you today. My beloved mother was born in a refugee camp in Egypt in the 1940s. Now, I was raised in Sydney, Australia, in a low socio-economic suburb that is largely both Arab and Muslim. Ramadan, traditionally for me, meant jumping the fence of my neighbor's house and playing with my friends and their cousins while we gathered to break the fast with a feast of Middle Eastern food that was prepared by people who back then I referred to as my aunties and my uncles. Yeah, I've witnessed the acceleration of radical Islam within these communities, including those who I considered friends, one of which was arrested in Lebanon in 2016 as a direct result of the links and ties that he had to ISIS. In my opinion, radical Islam is the snake that is hiding in the grass. And unfortunately, it is moderate Islam that has become the grass that is currently hiding that snake. My first perspective about Israel and the Jewish people came exclusively from an Arab-Muslim framework. I too could have easily been swept up by the pro-Palestinian camp. I moved to the US in 2004 to pursue a career in Hollywood. In 2011, my dream was realized when I was cast on a popular TV show called The Vampire Diaries and the Originals. You may have heard of it. But it wasn't until the following year that the most significant event of my life would unfold. I became a Christian. And the search for the truth of a Jewish Messiah was always going to lead me into the Holy Land. Now, I didn't realize this back then, but in 2017, I would make the first of what would be many trips to Israel. Now, during these trips, I would meet and form lasting relationships with some of the most incredible Jews, inspiring Israelis, and people who I consider family to me. Exactly 7 years to the day from my very first trip, I was given the privilege and the honor to light the torch on Israel's Independence Day, becoming the first non-Israeli and non-Jew to ever do it in their history. Now, over the last 11 months, I have monitored, I've tracked, and I've paid close attention to every single Palestinian activity, trend, and propaganda campaign that we have seen on our social media feeds and platforms. I've had real conversations with Palestinians in Gaza. I've joined jihadist Telegram groups to see what they share and what they celebrate, and I've followed the never-ending processions of pro-Palestinian marches that preach hate in every major city around the world. I've also spent the last 6 months in Israel reporting on the war, sharing real stories, and creating the content to elevate the voices of those who far too often are immediately forgotten about by mainstream media. However, the most impactful work that I have done to date was the work that was never filmed. It was never documented, and it was never intended to prove a point. It was to bring a small piece of hope, a silent yet heart-filled hug to an individual or a family member who was experiencing what we could only describe as the worst of the worst. The enemy, on the other hand, has lied, they've manipulated, and they've hijacked every possible cause, particularly the ones that allow them to disguise the true nature of their jihadist ideology. LGBTQ, BLM, climate change, immigration reform, you name it. It's safe to say that Palestinian propagandists would show up to the opening of an Amazon package if they knew it furthered their cause. And what about us? What are we doing? We gather in conference halls like this one, and so often we lament over the failed state of what is known as Hasbara. Let me say this loud and clear. Hasbara isn't broken, it's dead. Social media algorithms and an individual's ability to curate their experience ultimately means that this generation has a unique ability to not only see, but only control exactly what their Instagram and TikTok feeds will show them. If we have any real chance to influence opinion, we must first ask the obvious question: who do we actually need to talk to? And what do we need to do to activate them? Now, I would argue that those in this room today need little explanation or convincing about the current state of affairs. Therefore, you should never be the intended audience. Now, although our content that we create may resonate with you, lift you up, give you a voice, and occasionally make you laugh in these dark times, we must understand, if we truly want to move the needle, we must reach far, far beyond ourselves. So here's my hypothesis of who our target audience is. Because it's not the far left, female-wearing, keffiyeh-looking woman that was sitting on my train this morning as I made my way to Washington, D.C., or her self-righteous friends who attend Harvard, Berkeley, or Columbia University. I mean, be my guest. Try and shift their thinking, but you're going to realize quickly what I'm about to tell you. It's a waste of time. So what do we know about Gen Z? First, they're overwhelmingly uneducated about Israel. Poll after poll will tell us that young Americans are not even following the news around the Israeli-Gaza war. They aren't concerned about it and have no interest in engaging with it. Second, Gen Z is overwhelmingly religious. That might shock some people here today. But when you look inside the statistics, you find this. According to a recent study, 77% of Gen Z is seeking spirituality, whatever that means. 68% self-identifies as religious. Inside of that majority of Gen Z, they identify as Christian. Now, I'm not talking about the evangelical Christians we've come to love and know. I'm just talking about Christian. Now, today's pop culture icons like Kendrick Lamar, Forrest Frank, Caitlin Clark, Justin Bieber, Steph Curry, they all have one thing in common. Their faith is directly connected to their brand. Now, the origins of Christianity are directly connected to Judaism, and more specifically to the land of Israel. Unlike Islam and the Quran, the Christian Bible changes nothing of Judaism. Not a sentence, not a word, not a punctuation. The Palestinian movement even tries to claim Jesus as their own. If the Palestinians will attempt to rebrand a Jewish Jesus, that tells us one thing: nothing is off the table for people who are willing to lie. So if we have any hope of shifting the narrative to a larger audience, Israel must not be treated as a brand deal for content creators. We don't need a hashtag. We don't need a geotag. We don't need a one-off post. We need to invest in building long-lasting friendships with those who share common ground and values. Friends like Douglas Murray, friends like myself. People who are willing to stand strong as a voice of reason and truth in a world that is morally bankrupt. Now, in the last year, together with our team at BZ Media, through our distribution channels of Rover and Holy Landings, we've worked with more than 24 content creators in the faith space to bring them into the land and to produce pro-Israel content for an audience which is predominantly outside the Jewish community. We've amassed more than 300 million views on our content. Now, but more importantly than this, I have seen firsthand, time and time again, that you can come into Israel as a Christian and 72 hours later, you can leave as a Christian Zionist. But this audience must understand this. Their expression of Zionism will inherently look different to yours. The era of Hasbara is over. Social media killed it. We must shift our thinking and our strategy beyond this over-explaining and gimmick got-you moments that the masses will never really see, and it will never give us any lasting change. What we need is authentic relationship-building mechanisms. Not just in the short term, but more importantly in the long term. Because whether we like it or not, the Palestinian lies and the liars are here to stay. So finally, to the Jewish people here today, you need to unite. You need to be unified. Because if you remain divided, and as a divided people, you will always have a divided response to your cause. You are a chosen people. You have a unique relationship with Hashem, but more importantly, it was Hashem himself who gave you a divine commitment to people. All people. That's your call, to be a light to the nations. When you neglect either of these realities, the outcome is neither favorable or desirable. Here's the alternative. When you return to your first love and you return to your first calling, you become an unstoppable force, a remarkable nation, and an unbreakable people. Authenticity, storytelling, and genuine relationship is the key to unlocking new activism. So I want to end the same way I started, as a kid. Yeah, I was the last person you'd ever think who would become a friend to the Jewish people, let alone someone who is now committing their entire life for your cause. But I'm here, and I can promise you one thing. I can make one firm promise to you tonight, that I'm here, and I'm here to stay. Till till the very end, till my very last breath, and till my very last post. Shabbat Shalom. May all the glory go to your God, the God of Israel. Hashem. Baruch Hashem. Thank you very much.